everybody. We're back, and apparently the Epstein files are getting released. It's something we've talked about for a while, wanting to happen, and we might get something. So, first of all, just a few disclaimers. I don't think we're going to get everything. I think if there was something serious in there, they would have never released them. That being said, let's set that aside, okay? If there, let's just say for the sake of argument here that there is going to be some shit. There's got to be something coming out, okay? Because people like Trump and Mike Johnson wouldn't be so freaked out about all this. But at the same time, the House voted almost unanimously to get these things released. So there might be something, probably not a lot. Okay. Wouldn't be surprised if we don't get a whole lot out of this. But we're making progress. And it's not because Donald Trump wanted to release these files. I know people are trying to say, Donald Trump's playing 4D chess. He, pulled the biggest bait and switch. He got the Democrats on board to release the Epstein files when otherwise it wouldn't have. I don't think any of that's it. I think Trump is protecting some donors that are going to be in the Epstein files, maybe other congressmen, I don't know, senators. We'll see. Probably foreign intel agencies, his own intel agencies. We might get some shit out of this. But I want us to be cautious because they got 30 days, according to the bill that just passed, to clean these files up, redact some stuff. It's not really clear exactly who's going to get to redact these files, what's going to be hidden from us still. But I think that we're not going to find as much as we want to out of this. And there's been all sorts of crazy shit happening, coming out around this. Let's start with Mike Johnson.
All right. Number 5, national security concerns, okay? The discharge requires the Attorney General to release within 30 days, quote, classified information to the maximum extent possible. This ignores the principle that declassification should always rest, and always has rested, with the agency that originated the intelligence. Why? So that they can protect their critical sources and methods. It is incredible.
So hold on. I know we've said before that Epstein, was an intel agent, the CIA and the Mossad are definitely involved. But it's crazy for the Speaker of the House to just come out and say, we can't release the files on the pedophile ring in the United States because it's going to reveal sources and methods from intel agencies. Why are our intel agencies involved in pedophile rings? So it's just, first of all, it's just crazy to get that admitted out loud. Okay. So we know intelligence is involved. Otherwise Mike Johnson wouldn't have said that. Which again is just like, burn it all fucking down, dude. Fuck that. If the CIA is involved in raping American little girls, dude, fucking just burn the whole thing to the ground. Anyone that was in charge of that gave the go ahead, put them against a wall. We don't have, that is fucking insane. Okay. We can rebuild an intel agency that doesn't rape American kids. Okay. We can't allow whoever was in charge of this to continue without punishment. Okay, so that's just number one. The CIA, if they're involved in this, better not get a pass.
Incredibly dangerous to demand that officials or employees of the DOJ declassify materials that originated in other agencies, in intelligence agencies. All right.
So again, he just is kind of continuing on there with about how Epstein was actually involved with the intel agencies. Something we always assumed, but now we have Mike Johnson on the record for that. And it's crazy, okay, that Mike Johnson, okay, the Republican Speaker of the House, is admitting Epstein was involved with the CIA or other intel agencies, and he still was against releasing the files. He was still talking about how he, has major concerns. Let me see if I can find this. Him talking about the bill. He was hoping it would get edited in the Senate or something. That the House, the House originates all the bills. They send it to the Senate, then they go to the president. Okay, I guess Mike Johnson thought that if the House passed this bill to release the Epstein files, the Senate would then add some amendments, water it down, and then it would get passed that way. But that didn't happen. The Senate just passed it as is, and now he and Trump are kind of freaking out about it. I'm gonna see if I can find this this video. Yeah, here we go.
How you doing? The president posted that Democrats who urge service members to not follow illegal orders should be punished.
Sorry, hold on. That's a different episode, different video there. Let me see if I can find the one. Which is something we're going to tackle. That topic is for a little bit later, where the Democrats committed sedition. Here we go.
Thune, you seeing the bill without adding amendments or changing it?
I'm deeply disappointed in this outcome. I think I've been at the state dinner. I don't know. I was just told that Chuck Schumer rushed it to the floor and put it out there preemptively. It needed amendments. I just spoke to the president about that. We'll see what happens.
So do you think he may veto it? You say you spoke to the president?
I'm not saying that.
Is he supportive of it in its current form?
We both have concerns about it, so we'll see. I was standing there with the Crown Prince. We couldn't talk.
Are you frustrated in the majority leader? Are you upset with the majority leader?
So there you go. Mike Johnson feels like we need amendments to this bill. We can't just release all the files. We can't let the people know that, politicians and the CIA are raping a bunch of kids. And he went on Morning Joe and said, if we release these files unredacted, it would undermine our government. So it would probably undermine people's faith in the intel agencies and the executive branch. I don't think he was talking about other lawmakers there, but it's possible some senators or congressmen were involved here. But I think what he's really talking about is the CIA, the FBI, and the Mossad, and maybe other foreign intel agencies too. That's who he's really talking about, because what the deep state politicians, they know that if they get impeached or removed, someone else is going to take their place. Okay. Then those politicians will go get some board position somewhere. They'll be just fine. Okay. What they're really afraid of is the organizations like the CIA, the FBI being implicated, because since no elected official can, be held directly accountable for what the CIA is doing, aside from the president and vice president, who probably aren't going to be implicated here because Donald Trump obviously hates the CIA and the FBI. So what we're looking at is these politicians want to protect the federal bureaucracies because there's no real way to hold people accountable there, for voters to hold those bureaucrats accountable. So what people like me and other America First conservatives want to do is just tear the whole thing down. And that's really what they're afraid of, because that's where the center of their power lies. Okay. These intel agencies that are blackmailing foreign countries, blackmailing probably our own politicians. Okay. Political opponents of the well-connected. That's what they don't want ripped down, because that's their center of power. If the CIA goes down or the FBI goes down, first of all, there will just be, it'll be like a burn pile where all the rats just start, running for the hills. Everything's exposed. That's the first thing, is we really decide that fuck the CIA. We're going to tear them down. We're going to get all their files and see what they've been doing for the last several decades. That's where all of our politicians are going to be implicated. Okay. So these politicians have to protect the CIA and the FBI, because that's where all the skeletons are hidden. And if they don't, okay, if the CIA, if our elected officials are forced to defund, say, the CIA is taking them all down with them. So that's what they're afraid of. They gotta protect their daddy. Otherwise, daddy's going to take them all down. It's it's this really sick, and I genuinely think this whole Epstein operation was a blackmail operation, but it's really sick how the intel agencies hold more power than our elected officials do. And Chuck Schumer talked about this when Donald Trump was first elected, and he was going after the intel agencies. Chuck Schumer gets this kind of off the cuff question. I think it's from Rachel Maddow, talking about how Rachel Maddow says to Chuck Schumer, "Hey, can you believe that, Trump's going after the intel agencies?" Schumer's not prepared for this question, so he just tells the truth because he's some old guy on TV. He goes, "Dude, I would not mess with the intel agencies. They've got 6 ways to Sunday to get you back." And that's probably the most true thing Chuck Schumer's ever said. Okay. And everybody knows it. So the whole thing is really just perverted in the multiple senses of the word, especially, with the Epstein context. But I wanted to play this for you guys too. Mark Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein's brother, called in to Chris Cuomo's show on News Nation and said some interesting stuff because, Donald Trump appears a few times in the Epstein files that were already released. Nothing that I consider, there's nothing that anyone really considers to be a crime. It's a little embarrassing for Trump because it shows he was still communicating with Epstein after he said he had stopped. Donald Trump famously kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago, but it seems like he was still talking to him after that, even though he said he wasn't. And then there's this weird email that I'll let Mark Epstein take it from here.
I got literally it sent to me a dozen times this weekend. Did you see the emails between Jeffrey Epstein and his brother Mark? Did you see? It's proof that Epstein was covering and had stuff on Trump as his sex life. This back and forth with Jeffrey, where he tells you that Bannon is with him, and you say, "Oh, great, ask him if Putin still has photos of Donnie T," I'm assuming President Trump, with blowing, which we all know what that means, Bubba.
Let me stop you here. I'm not discussing that email. This is a private email between Jeffrey and myself. There's 2 brothers talking. It's nobody's business what we wrote. The only thing I responded to is because people got crazy.
First of all, it's crazy this Mark Epstein guy's out here doing public appearances. If your brother was outed as the world's biggest pedophile, I wouldn't think you'd go out on the news and, start talking to people like Chris Cuomo. It's even weirder when your emails get exposed with your brother to go on the news and say, "You know what? I'm not going to talk about it." Because you could kind of understand where, if you're a normal person and your emails got leaked and someone wanted to, talk to you about it, you could say, "Oh, hold on, man. I'm not here to discuss my personal communications, with somebody." But this guy's the brother of one of the worst fucking criminals in American history. And this guy, Mark, was continuing to talk to him. And he's talking about the president of the United States blowing another president of the United States. He's just going to throw his hands up back. No, I'm not going to talk about this. That's fucking insane. Keep listening to this guy. This Mark guy's out of his mind.
With the Bubba reference, and they try to pin it on Clinton, so I made a public statement that it was not any reference to Bill Clinton. I like Bill Clinton, and I'm sorry for him that he had to go through that. But
of everything Mark Epstein's sorry about, he's sorry to Bill Clinton. One of his brothers, Jeffrey Epstein's clients, okay, Bill Clinton. And Mark is sorry to him. He comes out, he says he's not going to say anything about his emails, but he says, "Well, I did come out on the record and say, this wasn't about Bill Clinton. I would not want to spread rumors about Bill Clinton getting blowjobs from somebody. Bill Clinton doesn't deserve that." It's just beyond parody, okay? That this Mark Epstein dude has to come out and try and clear Bill Clinton's name because he doesn't want any sexual black marks on Bill Clinton's record. Okay. He's not going to talk about what he said about the current president of the United States, Donald Trump. And of course, Mark Epstein's a Democrat who loves Bill Clinton. I mean, duh. His brother's a fucking pedophile. Of course the guy loves Bill Clinton.
Email had nothing to do with Clinton. And that's my last word on that email. So
And I get it. You don't want to talk about it. It was a private back and forth with your brother. Fine. But it is being used as proof that your brother had compromised information about Donald Trump. Is that what you are referring to? And is that what you suspect?
No, Jeffrey, in 2016, I said this publicly before. Jeffrey told me that if he said what he knew about the candidates, they'd have to cancel the election. He didn't tell me what he knew, but Jeffrey definitely had.
So my bullshit radar is just kind of going off the charts right here. Number one, okay, if you had compromising information on Donald Trump, okay, the most public person in human history, and then Donald Trump's running for president, again, this is 2016, do you know how much money and influence that information could have been worth? And Jeffrey Epstein just sat on it. And he had apparently dirt on Clinton too. Same thing. Probably could have sold it for, I don't know if Jeffrey Epstein needed more money or wanted more. I don't know what was going on in the mind of that guy. But he seemed like someone who peddled in secrets and influence. So we're supposed to believe he had dirt on both presidential candidates and didn't expose either one of them. Does that sound like somebody, with a God complex who, enjoys doing all the shit Jeffrey Epstein was doing? He didn't want to put his thumb on the scale either way. And then imagine this. Imagine your brother tells you, okay, hey, I've got dirt that could take down both presidential candidates. They would have to cancel the election if I release this information. And you don't say, hey, bro, well, what is it? You can't just leave me hanging like that. What is it? No, I guess Mark just didn't ask, or Jeffrey didn't want to tell him. That is a bullshit story if I've ever heard one. That's like when people post on Twitter that their 2-year-old went on some monologue about DEI, or how their 2-year-old wants to go to preschool to get a good education so that they can help the poor when they're older or something. These just complete bullshit stories. This is worse than that. This is just not fucking true. Okay, so let's finish listening to this fucking weird pedophile's brother here.
He had dirt on Trump. And you could see in the emails, Trump could deny it all he wants, but it's pretty clear. I mean, everything Trump says is a lie.
But that's not what you were talking about.
It's provable that he was in Jeffrey's office. He said he wasn't in the house. It's provable he was there. He said everything he says is a lie.
But that's not what you were talking about in the text thread. You don't know of any information that he had.
I'm not discussing that email.
So he doesn't want to discuss whether Donald Trump was giving oral sex to possibly Bill Clinton or other people named Bubba. Okay, fine. To get the fuck off the news. Why are you here? You're not an expert on anything except your pedophile brother and all the secrets he was holding for the Mossad and CIA. So then why the fuck are you here if you're not going to talk about it? Dude, go back to whatever hole you came from with your pedophile family, man. Just insane. Insane. And all this looks so bad for Republicans. I don't understand why Donald Trump thought that he was going to get away with burying this. Remember, he called it the Democrat hoax, which was just ridiculous gaslighting. I mean, no, it's true that Joe Biden was president. They had this information for 4 years. They chose not to drop it. Remember, Democrats are more easily controlled within their caucus. Okay, Nancy Pelosi famously able to get her caucus in line. Democrats are much better at it. They move as a unit. Their ideology, the collectivist ideology, allows more control over groups of people. Okay, and people that subscribe to that ideology are more easily controlled by their nature. So it makes sense that when they were in power for 4 years, there was no talk of releasing these files because the order came down from Nancy Pelosi probably. We're not talking about it. We're not releasing any files, and nobody better say shit about it. And they didn't. But the Republican Party, okay, it's the Wild West, man. You've got Thomas Massey out here pushing this bill. Ton of credit goes to him. You've got Donald Trump campaigning on releasing these files, bringing people in like Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, who both were on the record talking about how this is a huge conspiracy and it should all be released. They get in these positions of power. Then they think they're just going to flip the script and say, nah, there's actually nothing here. And people aren't going to say anything about it. The right wing is the way it is right now because we saw through all the COVID bullshit conspiracies, okay? We saw through all the DEI rackets. We've seen through the public college scam. Okay, we saw through the one of the biggest scandals in American history, us not having a president because Joe Biden was completely senile. Okay, we've lived through conspiracy after conspiracy after conspiracy coming true. And you thought you were then going to cover up the Epstein pedophile ring? One of the biggest, most anticipated, file releases since, the assassination of JFK. And we still don't have all those, by the way. The right wing has had conspiracy after conspiracy perpetrated against them. And the fact that Donald Trump, after fanning the flames of this whole thing during his campaign, his latest campaign, thought he was just going to turn around and sweep it under the rug out of his fucking mind and bring people in that are going to be complicit in it. No. You've got people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who, kind of a kook, but to her credit, is not going to go along with that, okay? You've got people on the right like Tucker Carlson who aren't going to let it go. Thank God. Okay. Donald Trump does not have the grip on his party that the Democrats do. And that's a good thing. Okay. The Republicans having a weak grip on the party was the whole reason we got Donald Trump. Remember in 2015, when he was running in the primaries, they didn't want him to win. He only won because the Republican Party was too weak to stop him. And that gave us the biggest political juggernaut in modern history. Democrats don't have that, and they're not going to because they're all about command and control. Okay, they had, Bernie Sanders, they decided to kill his campaign in the crib. But the idea, okay, that I don't know what goes through Donald Trump's head sometimes. I don't know why whoever was close to him didn't just say, hey, we understand there's some embarrassing shit in these files for you that you don't want released, but you got to put your ego to the side, and we've got to figure out why we have elected officials like Mike Johnson going on the news saying that if these files are released, it's going to undermine all faith in the government. That kind of piques people's interest, especially right-wing people like me that hate the government anyways. So why would we listen to Donald Trump say it's all a hoax and, we should all just move on? No. Fuck no. Never. Okay. Never is that going to happen. Never was it going to happen. And if they don't release all the files like they should, okay, this is just going to continue for decades and decades. I'm worried it's going to end up like a JFK, where we're going to be here half a century later, still wondering what happened, still blaming the CIA, of course, as it turns out. But they just weren't going to pull this one over the Republicans' eyes. And that MAGA was in complete rebellion. And some people are out there saying that, Donald Trump has killed MAGA, MAGA's dead, Donald Trump's a lame duck now. I think he's going to get past this. I think that it's jumping to conclusions way too quickly. And I think that underestimates Donald Trump's power to flip the script, to distract and move on. We still have 3 more years of Donald Trump, okay? If he really does release the files in a way that is satisfactory to MAGA, next year we're not going to be talking about this in the same way. It'll still be something that we reference, just like COVID, but it's not going to be the number one topic. COVID isn't the number one topic anymore. Okay. And neither is this. Neither is this going to be in several years, even though it's the number one topic right now. Okay. So let's get it out. Let's rip the Band-Aid off. Let's see why people like Mike Johnson think it's going to undermine all faith in government, which it should. I hope it does, because there shouldn't be faith in our government anyways. We have a government that is robbing us blind, $37 trillion in debt. It's old people enslaving younger people. Okay. We are going to have to work the rest of our lives just to pay this debt off. If we started today, it'll really be like our kids that are being robbed too. It'll be, generations they're setting us up for, robbing us blind, pillaging the country, taking it over to their island. Okay. With the CIA, raping a bunch of kids. That's what they do. There shouldn't be any faith in a system that allows that. So let's see. Let's undermine all the faith. I really hope it does. Because we know how sick the government is. We know all the bullshit they pull. But let's open it up for everybody to see. Let's make it undeniable that the federal government needs to be cut down to size because of all the harm they're perpetrating, not just abroad, but to American kids. Let's see why Mike Johnson opposes this bill so much. Because he's an institutions guy. He wants what's best for the CIA, right? Of course he does. It's just, I hope we get all of it. And then the whole, we've known in our hearts that this was all an Intel op. Okay. But Mike Johnson, again, said it out loud, still doesn't want the files released. Why would we ever reelect somebody like that? Well, I think he's from Alabama. His district should not reelect him. Okay. He tried to cover this up. He should go. He's also a big spending guy. He could have been the Speaker of the House to balance the budget for us. He chose not to. He's got to go. Okay. Mike Johnson, I was someone that supported him when the Republicans were doing this clown show where, we were doing the voting for Speaker over and over again, couldn't agree on somebody. I said, great. We got Mike Johnson. The circus is over. Fantastic. Then he voted for that big omnibus bill after he said he wouldn't. Fuck him. Vote him out. These people, all these politicians that vote for these giant spending bills, forsaking us for a lifetime of debt, are traitors to the country. They should not be allowed to legislate. It is not up to them, okay? And the way I see it, they don't have the authority to pass debt off onto me. They are going to be dead and gone by the time the bill comes due. But they get to sell us out to foreign countries. Fuck them. We shouldn't pay. They should know, okay, all these investors that buy up these treasuries, these bills that pay for the national debt. If you want your money in 30 years, you're going to have to dig these people up and take it yourself because we aren't paying. It's not going to happen. We're not paying $37 trillion in debt back. Okay. We're going to go bankrupt whether we like it or not. They just hope that they're going to be dead and gone. They will have stolen enough money for their kids to escape to some other country and live like kings. That's the whole goal here. So, sorry, not a real happy episode, even though we're getting some of what we want, but it just shows you how fucked up it all is, man. Thanks for listening, guys.